What's up, FSK? Benjamin here. I'm going to go over some different tricks that you can do all on your mobile phone. I mean, if you have a nice camera, do it there as well. But I'm going to talk to you about composition when taking martial arts style photos, different angles you can use to get really cool shots. We're going to talk about capturing those action shots and also how to move the camera when doing martial arts photography and videography. So here we go. Here are a few ideas. Okay, one of the first things we're going to talk about is composition. Now, a lot of times when people take photos or video, they think, I just want to capture that image or capture the subject in the image. So they end up getting kind of wide, and then they just aim the camera like it's like a scope, and they're just trying to put the subject in a crosshairs. We don't really want to do that. Like, so for instance, most people, if they were just talking right to the camera or taking a picture of themselves, they would actually put the head right into the center of the camera. And so this is what you think looks good, but right now I have all this space up here really isn't important. And my head is right in the center. So we think this is what we want because this is what we're trying to look at. But it's actually more pleasing is if you fill out the entire image. Think when you're taking photos that you want to use the entire space. So what you would do is you'd bring it down, and so my eyes would be almost right at the like 3/4 mark up here, and now I'm using the whole space. Whereas if you're filming yourself doing an exercise or whatever, we think we just gonna aim right there, but think the whole image. The other thing you want to keep in mind in terms of composition, right? In cases where you're not looking directly at the lens, and which is usually the case, same thing. If I'm off here looking out this way, the tendency is to put the whole subject right into the center because, like, okay, that's what I'm capturing, so I'm going to put it into the center. But again, if I'm right in the center, all this stuff is not important information because the energy and the story of the image is going this way. So we want to capture this. This means nothing. So you might as well have, afterwards just crop this off. So instead, we're going to put me over onto this side of the frame. So now I'm taking up this space. This is kind of where center is, and I'm looking off there. So if I'm here, this image is a lot more pleasing because the action and the story of the image is going this way. If you had it over here and I'm doing this looking that way, this is useless unless there was a guy right here like looking over my shoulder, right? Which is not the case here, right? So if you have here, push over, and again, to get to that 3/4 on this side, now you're filling up the whole frame and it looks more pleasing because now we have the whole image being used. Okay, now one thing you want to make sure you do on your camera, I'll be showing you an example using the iPhone, but most camera apps are virtually the same. You want to be able to lock the exposure and the focus. You probably see this happening sometimes. Actually, here, I'll do it right now. I think I can. I'm going to unlock. So you see how it already changed, right? So you see now how it's moving. The exposure, it's getting lighter and darker, right? It's adjusting as I move and I change the light, right? See, as I move, those kitchen cabinets are getting lighter and darker, right? That's because the exposure is set to an auto exposure. And same thing with the focus. What you want to do is lock that down so no matter where you move, the light isn't going up and down on you. See, you're going up, down, right? Okay. So, what you're going to need to do is you want to there's a little icon when you touch the screen of the camera. There's a little icon that's usually or a yellow square. You're going to touch the screen, then you're going to hold it down. You're going to see it blink a little bit, then it's going to go solid and it's going to say lock. After it locks, that's when you also get a chance to adjust the exposure manually by just putting your finger just to the right of that box on the screen and moving the finger up and down, almost like you're scrolling the image up and down. That's going to move the exposure up and down. Once you get that nice exposure, what you like, go ahead and leave it. Now, no matter where you go, that exposure is going to stay the same and it's not going to be moving on you. Okay, another thing you want to keep in mind is angles, right? Sometimes when we film, we feel like, oh, we want to just capture all the action, right? But the way we see life, we don't see it the same way we see things on the camera or when we're looking at an image. When you're looking at an image, that person is chosen a very specific angle, a very specific place for you to view the subject. So when we think, oh, let's just capture the whole thing, it doesn't get interesting because we think that's the way we see it in life, but we don't. The way we see the world is almost more like a globe than it is a flat image, right? We want to remember this is a two-dimensional thing, right? So think about the different angles you can use. Most people, when they take a photo, it's like, oh, strike a fighting pose, right? And they're here. It's just this nice and wide pose, right? This really isn't interesting because we haven't chosen a point of view. So choose a point of view, and there's tons of point of views you can use. You can come right in close, same pose, right? But now I'm here, right? Nice and close. And don't be afraid of getting close to the camera. Look, I mean, I could touch, if I wanted to, I could touch the lens. That's how close the camera is. And I could be right here. This is the same pose, but a lot cooler, right? We can also drop the angle down a little bit, come from a lower angle, same pose. Now I'm up from here. Tells a little bit of a different story, but still cool, right? I can turn my whole body. I can come over here to a profile, and I could be here in profile. Again, getting this flat image, right? So it's like an image coming from here. I'm choosing the point of view of being right here. Same thing, I can go up with that point of view, right? I can be down here. Again, even still be close. I can still touch that lens, but now I'm here. You can do those same things, be far. You can be low, and I can be far away from the image, right? So the camera can go down, and I can be here, still wide, so I don't have to be close, but still, this is choosing a specific angle. And once you decide that, then it becomes interesting. If you're just back here, now we don't know what we were trying to look at. But if you choose a specific angle, that's when the image becomes interesting because we're going, oh, we're supposed to be seeing it from a certain way. All right, so this is obviously not the best lighting to shoot in. Direct sunlight is kind of intense. Sometimes we think, oh, it's a nice day outside. Let's go take some photos. Actually, cloudy is usually the best. If you are outside and it's direct sunlight, go ahead and find yourself some shade, shoot there. But one thing that the direct sunlight does give you is a chance to do really cool silhouetted shots. All you do is put your lens in the direction of the sun and then put your subject in front of the sun. So you want to imagine that the lens is the cue ball, your subject is the 8 ball, and the sun is the corner pocket, and you just line them all up together. And now you have this really cool silhouetted shot. So you can strike a pose in this position and be nice and silhouetted. The other thing that's really cool you can do is actually ride the line. Go and start moving the camera over right where the sun starts to peek in. It can be on the side of the head, usually under here, right on the turn of the jawline is great. And you can strike that same pose, be there and have that light kind of coming in, creating a little bit of those light flares piercing through. Makes some really cool silhouetted motion shots. Okay, now this is really important, this one. Okay, so this is how to grab those action shots. A lot of times what we end up trying to do is we're throwing a punch, whap, and I want to get that moment right when I'm all, and I'm stopping right here. Actually, that's kind of, okay, anyway. You would get to the point to where, whap, you catch that. But we think, okay, I'm just going to use the camera and I'm just going to wait. All right, when you get to that extension, I'm going to, so right when I get there, you're going to try to catch it. Well, sometimes we punch at a high velocity, we kick really fast. So that kick's flying up, whoa, and I have to hit it right when that kick is perfectly out. That can be really difficult to do. Sometimes you have a camera that you can hold down the shutter button, and usually that happens. If you hold down, you'll hear like click, 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 click. It'll go a lot, and it's taking a whole bunch of photos, right? Here's a little trick. I'll move this over so I'll put an image up here, right? So this image here, right? This is taken on the beach that I took. Again, all these things are taken with the iPhone. This isn't actually a photo. It's a screenshot of a video. So what you can do is go into your camera and shoot in slow motion. Now you have two options of shooting 120 frames a second or 240 frames a second. Usually 120 frames a second is just fine. I'll also show you where to maneuver that. You can go to your settings, you can go to camera, and then it'll show you those rates, and just click it to 120. You should be set on 120. You would go to 240 If you want to make even slow motion, slow, you get it. But sometimes you can also lose light if you go too high. So if you don't have enough light and it's not, if you're doing it outside, you should be fine. But if you're indoors, you may want to just stick to 120, you're fine. But what you're going to do is you're going to then play again on your phone. Don't play the video, pause it, and then go down to the little toggle at the bottom and move through the image. And you'll be going frame by frame through the image and then find the right moment where, so if you're going slow motion, right, you stop it right where you really nail that pose. And then when you nail that pose, you want to go ahead and take a screenshot of that image. And now you have a screenshot of a high resolution photo that, again, we're just posting to social media, so it's fine, that you've just now grabbed from the slow motion. So you don't have to try to time this kick or hold this kick really high. If you can do a nice high kick, but you can't do a high kick and hold it up there for a long time for someone to take that shot, use that slow motion. Come up, whap, catch it up there, toggle through, screenshot it, and there you have it. There you have it. Nice, solid, cool action shot. All right, now I want to talk about camera movement, right? How we can move the camera when we're doing video. Now, a lot of times the subject will be moving, but just in the case of the subject being still, let me show you how the camera can move in a dolly shot, pushing in and pushing out. So if I'm holding this position here, the camera can push in, creates a really cool motion, right? Now we can pull out to reveal the subject and reveal the pose. Right? So this is pushing in and pushing or pulling out, right? So this is a dolly move that goes in and out that can really make the video more dynamic, again, as opposed to just staying static. Now we can move, we can also do what's called tracking, and that's when you're moving side in a parallel position to the subject. So if I'm here, you may track from behind me into the front. Again, same pose. I'm just tracking this way, and you could track the other way. Now we're tracking that way, right? So that's tracking and then dollying, pushing in, pushing out. That can be great. But now a lot of times when you're filming this video or filming action, the subject is also doing action. I mean, it can be cool if you're just like tracking around me. If I'm holding this still position and the camera's here and just goes ahead and tracks around me as I'm holding it, right? That can be cool, right? But a lot of times, the person who's who's a subject is actually moving as well, right? So if you're filming like a kata or any just or shadow boxing even, if the person filming you knows what you're doing, say the person filming you knows the kata that you're doing, sometimes moving with the motion can also be super dynamic. But keep in mind the direction that you go when you move with the camera, right? So if I'm doing just this position here or this motion here, my hands are coming up and I'm just coming down into this. The main motion that the camera is seeing, though I'm moving my back arm, is the lead arm coming from your right to left, right? So you're seeing this. This is the main motion. Your instinct might be to move with the arm. So let's do that. We'll start with the camera here. The camera is going to pan and track with me to the left. So here we go, arms up, and the camera is going to track down this way, right? And we're going to do that one more time. So I want you just to be clear what a pan is. A pan is if I do this, but if I'm tracking, I'm doing this, right? So we want the camera to track in this case. So my arm is coming up here, and if I track down with me, right to there, like we're moving with the motion. What's actually more dynamic is moving across each other. So now what we're going to have is going to have the camera on the other side. The camera's going to move this way, and then my arm's going to come in the same position, except we're moving in opposition. So here I am, I come up, and I go down as we track down into here, right? That's way more dynamic. Think of it as puzzle pieces coming together, right? As opposed to everything moving in one direction, right? That can be way more dynamic. You can do it from the opposite direction. Let's say now I'll come here. The camera's now going to track this way because my arm is coming this way, right? So I can be here, I can be up, and I can track this way into this position, right? So it's moving in opposition. That can be really cool, really dynamic. Now, how do you do that for the person who's filming? The person who's filming over here is really experienced, but what you have in your camera is already a built-in stabilizer, so it's already helping you out. These are just some ideas to keep in mind. You don't want to walk. So if I'm here, what I don't want to do is this. Each step, each time my foot hits the ground, the camera goes boom, 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 right? You don't want that, right? So get yourself in a position to where you don't have to step. So let's say I want to just do a push in, right? I'm gonna get a nice wide stance. I'm gonna shift my weight to my back leg. I'm gonna have my camera in nice and tight. And let's say I want to push in, I'm just shifting my weight to my front foot. And if I want to go a little bit more, I'm just gonna extend out, right? So this is the motion you want, so you don't do that same motion, but doing this because the camera is going to shake. The other thing to keep in mind if you're doing tracking shots or moving shots, don't have your arms out really wide because each unconnected part of your arm isn't stabilized. Bring those elbows and the backs of your arms right here, your triceps right here to your body. Now you have more, you're a little bit more stabilized. There's more moving parts. Bring that in nice and tight. And if I'm going to track, I'm going to track like this. If I'm going to pan even, I'm going to pan like this. I'm going to tilt like this. That makes for really nice, smooth movement. And that's how you'll get really cool shots. So really ground your feet, and you can do it that way, or you can find something with wheels and then move and actually do these tracking dolly shots on wheels. So that could be an electric skateboard, it could be a bicycle, it could be a shopping cart. If you're one of those people who have a shopping cart lying around in your garage. So what you would do is you would get on said electric device, and what you would do is you would have your camera in your hand, but full disclosure, right? Make sure you're wearing all protective gear. Run everything by your parents first, because if anything happens to you, it's not on my dime, buddy. So get permission from your parents, wear all protective gear. Then you're going to have your phone and you're going to film those things and move. Right now, the person with the camera, who happens to be my lovely wife, is just walking with me, right? But so she has a little stabilization on her camera, but it's a little bouncy, right? What we're going to show you is what it looks like when you have something smooth moving just on a device like this. Okay, so this is an example of just pushing right past and panning at a quick motion, right? So this is great. Just going ahead and moving right past. Right, so now in that position, can you see me? In that position, we're just tracking and blazing right by. So that's pretty cool. You see that a lot in movies. Now what we're gonna do is it's called a push in, right? Where I'm not really gonna change the angle. I'm not gonna pan left or right. I'm just gonna push in slow. So I'm gonna start a little closer, right? And so this is called just pushing in, right? So I'm actually gonna be here. I'm just gonna push in, right? So I'm just going really close and I'm stopping, right? So a lot of times we're on this, the tendency is to move really fast, right? But it's actually can be really pleasing to us just to have it slowly moving. That can be difficult on devices like this. That's why a shopping cart, if you got that shopping cart, that's where you want to be. We're going to look at that push in one more time. Here we go. Again, I'm just pushing in slow, getting that nice frame, and I'm just pushing in as she's going. Okay, and so the other thing that you can do, hopefully you can see me from this angle. I keep turning the camera around. But the other thing we want to be able to do is track with a subject that's also moving, right? So we did a tracking shot passing. Now let's look at what it looks like to actually have the subject moving with us. Okay, so we have our subject here. We're going to have them running in a second. But all of a sudden, we're going to be right, frame that up, and now we're going to have the subject move. And then all we're going to do is just try to meet that same speed, right? So it's kind of like a marriage between the person in the camera and the person who's your subject, right? But I'm just see how a lot smoother this is if I'm just going ahead and moving with them on something with wheels rather than moving with the camera, because then you don't have that bouncing action, right? Okay, and one more that we're gonna do now is, so we pushed in, we retract. It's cold. I'm in Gardiner right now. and I'm freezing over here. It's like 23 degrees. I don't know how cold it is for y'all. So the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to pull out, right? So we pushed in, we tracked past, but we pull out. The reason we would pull out is in a case of revealing, right? So we start close and then we slowly pull away, revealing what's happening with the subject. So here we go. I'm going to get nice and close up on the subject, right? We're here, and then I'm going to pull out, right? See, it then reveals. So I did do that really fast, right? The thing you also want to make sure that you're doing, wow, you probably got a really low angle there. The thing you want to make sure you're doing is you're timing with the person that you're pulling out on. If you pull out and the person's just standing there and not actually doing anything, then there really wasn't anything point of the reveal. You want the person that is in the subject to strike whatever pose they're going to do as the moment where they're just revealed. All right, that's about it. Those things will give you some really cool shots. Just remember, be specific, make a choice. Don't just think you're out here capturing an image, right? What you're really doing is you're coming in and focusing in on the subject the way you want us to see that subject. And if you do that, if you have a point of view, then it's going to be interesting to us. If you don't have a point of view, then it won't be. So I'm really excited to see the images, the pictures, and the videos you put out. Shihan, I'm sure we'll have a hashtag for you to use. So you can submit photos to him as well. I'm sure he'll be super excited to see, as of all of us at the dojo will. If you have any questions and you want to reach out to me, shoot me a message on Instagram, or Shihan can give you my email address. Also, if you're on Instagram and you see any photos that I've done and you're like, "Ooh, I'd like to do that," and you're curious how I did it, feel free, ask me. I'm here. Until then, much love. Be safe. Arigato gozaimashita. Shirei shimasu. Us. I'll see y'all around.